Hello everybody, this is Chris and I'm gonna do another video review of two PSDs from the Discord chat. So this is gonna be a complete freestyle and I'm gonna just speak my mind about these designs and we'll see what's what. So here's the first one. This is from a student named James Cooper, and my initial impression is that this is I would say a 3-star design, maybe 4-star if the contest holder is generous. My initial impression is that this is pretty nice and clean. It's well organized, but it doesn't stand out. It's not special enough. So this is just good. It's not great. And there are several things that go into it. First of all, I really love this type of header. It's absolutely beautifully executed, small font, pretty clean. Nice thin divider. I like the orange. The orange works really well. If there's one thing you should do though, is you should place it like this. This is much better as far as I'm concerned. And this is 3 pixels. I would probably go with 4, just so it's a bit more visible. And I would also, besides centering it, which it seems it's already the case, I would also do something like this. This would be a bit more pleasing. The way you do it is you take this measurement, it's 52, so that would be 26. 26 means just about here, and obviously then you would decrease the height, so something along these lines. Okay, whatever. So that's the number one thing. You might also want to change this this text to something like a light gray. Right now I'm using various techniques just so I can get a point across. You shouldn't actually use a clippy mask, obviously, on a text layer. That's not a good idea. I would also show a hover state, most likely. I would also show something like this, and this should be orange as well. And this should probably be bold. That would make for a better look. What I would probably do is I would probably submit 2 entries, one without all these hover states and one with them. I think that might work well. The fonts right here, they're pretty nice, and I can see that this thing right here is a play on the logo. So this is a big gamble. You would assume that the business is really fond of this particular logo and this type of design with these intricate lines. But this is a big risk. This is a huge gamble, and I don't think it's enough for this hero area to stand out. So while I personally love white backgrounds and the light grays, this might be way too simple for most people. It doesn't have that wow factor. And again, considering the competition on 99 Designs, I'm sure someone will create will create something like this, a huge rectangle with a big bold photo, and that's really gonna stand out versus your design. So while yours might be cleaner, big photos are just flashier. And if someone uses some type of isometric graphic from FreePic, then that's it. FreePic is gonna totally blow you away. So I don't think this is there's anything wrong with it. It's just a big gamble as far as I'm concerned. I don't really like this text placement here. I understand why you did it, but I'm not in love with it. It's also fairly small, so I don't think that's a good idea. I love these areas. I think these headlines are quite nice. DM, digital marketing. Again, you did something nice, you did something interesting, but it's not enough. Again, it's missing that factor, that wow factor. And I think you should try to inject some more custom graphics. You need some icons, you need some vectors, and I think you would really benefit from it. The part that should really stand out, that should really make this design pop, should be probably this area. But I don't like the photo. I think do you have a color overlay? Yes, you do. Yeah, it looks weird. So I understand that orange is the company's color, but this right here, it just looks, it's out of place. I don't think it's something that you should pursue. Multiply. Let's see. Yeah, so yeah, I would probably go for something like this, but the problem is when you apply a color overlay effect, orange especially, on a dark image, because this is dark to begin with, the whole thing starts to look a bit fuzzy, starts to look a bit strange. So this isn't the type of thing you're looking for, right? So in this particular area, this is pretty okay. This is pretty nice, reasonable. But you know, for the rest, it doesn't make sense. I would really round out these buttons, and I would really round out these base rectangles. Yeah, so that would be a small thing that I would do. And nowadays, you know, these types of dividers, they aren't really all that great. What most skilled designers do is they use white space, negative space, in order to actually create separate areas. And let's see. Oh, okay, so the base is off white, but again, this is way too light. So you need something around this area to actually be able to notice it. And again, don't assume clients are gonna be able to pick up on your very subtle color. I mean, again, F7, F7, F7. This is for elite designers. You know, just a handful of people are gonna actually notice the difference. So go a bit around this area right here, and it should have a better look. I don't agree with these rectangles. I don't think they're a good fit. And the problem with Railway, you know, in its light form, it's pretty okay. I usually prefer extra light. But in this particular place, it just looks fuzzy. It needs more space to breathe. Overall, this area, I'm not feeling it. You know, I don't like the players as well. They're far too small. And again, these lines, well, upstairs, you know, this is pretty interesting. Right here, this is just busy. They don't do anything for me. I understand that you probably saw some sites that had this line going through that's supposed to guide the user. You know, that line should be somewhat of a story that you follow and you go through the entire design. But I don't think this is a good look. I don't think this is, yeah, I'm gonna say this is a 3-star design. Let's see what else. These photos, generic, really generic. I'm not a fan of this one. I'm not a fan of this one. I think they're far too generic. I think you should increase the opacity for this one. Oh, you placed the color overlay on the base. Okay, I usually place it on the photo, and I would advise to place it on the photo. 72%, let's go with 80%, something like that. I would really love to see some bold, but I don't have the font, so we'll skip that. Yes, overall, there's nothing particularly wrong with it. I just don't agree with various choices that you made here and there. Wow, this is Montserrat. Okay, that's not a good look. You probably stole the footer from another design, but this is actually a pretty big mistake. You should keep it with Railway, and you should keep it fairly thin, probably the regular. Let's see, light. Light might work. I would increase the line height though. I would not use letter spacing. I don't think that's a good idea. Okay. Let's see what else. I would use more space. Yeah, I would go with something like this. Come on. Okay. And then something obviously like this in this position. And this divider is way too... Okay. So something like that, and yet again something like that, but you would obviously need to increase the space right here because everything is a bit too crowded. So again, it's a good design, but nothing all that special, nothing all that great. You shouldn't use gray strokes that are this thick. Oh wow, you actually use several ones. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, that's actually quite smart. I actually appreciate the way you did it. Most people would use several ellipses, but this is actually quite interesting. But still, I'm not a fan of the gray stroke. Let's see. What if we take it off? Yeah, I see where you left it on. Okay, not great, not terrible. Overall decent. So I would say again 3-star, solid 3-star, but you need to invest in some quality icons, some custom graphics. Yeah, that's about it. Let's move on to Anton's design. Anton is a pretty good designer. I saw his website. It seems like he's been doing this for a while. And the first impression, you know, as I scroll through it, I quite like it. I would not, however, use this photo. If this is something the client provided, then that's fine. But usually I would not use something that's as, you know, you either love it or you hate it. So this is a big risk as far as I'm concerned. In general, I would stay away from these types of photos. But again, if this is something the client provided, then that's totally fine. The logo is beautiful. The main menu is very well executed. I would not place contact like so in this position. If you're gonna place it separately, you should, oh wow. Oh, okay. Okay, we don't have a layered PSD. You should probably place another rectangle underneath it, right? Just so it actually stands out. Listen, I would actually make it a bit wider. 133, yeah, would go 160, something like that, maybe a bit taller as well. Let's see, this is 40. Yeah, I would go for 50 or 60, depending on the width. Usually I tend to stay around 200, 220 pixels for the width and about 50 or 60 for the height. I think that's the sweet spot. Yeah, I think that would be a bit more appropriate. Let's see what else. I don't really like this one right here, which is probably a controller for the photo. I'm guessing that as you click here, the photo changes. This is a very interesting look. You know, on one hand, some contest holders might love it, but from a practical standpoint, from a developer standpoint, you know, a developer is gonna hate this type of design. It doesn't make any sense. It's gonna be a pain to code. It's gonna be really difficult to make the actual content, to inject it in a way where it actually makes sense for the user. It's just gonna be confusing as hell. You know, you're gonna scratch your head about it. You as a client, when you jump in, you're not gonna know where to look, where to click. You know, again, the subscribe thing right here, it looks great. You know, it's well executed, but it doesn't make all that much sense. Again, for this part right here, it's okay. You know, I don't really like the fact that these are filled and this is outlined. This is colored, these are not. So I would say this area needs more love. Considering the entire design, I would go for the social media icons that are colored and that are colored in their own specific brand colors. And yeah, you know, the homepage, I think this is the worst page out of them all. I think this part right here is much better. But again, you're gonna have such a difficult time. I'm just thinking as a client, you know, if I have to create whatever 20 pages of content, this type of design is gonna limit me so much because I'm gonna have to have great photos that have a decent amount of contrast, that are really wide but also short. So the aspect ratio is absolutely terrible from that perspective. You basically made this. This is a great presentation, but it's an actual terrible website. Clients obviously don't really care about the functionality and all that. This is for $1,600, so I'm sure the client will be able to afford, you know, doing some tweaks and whatnot to purchase some additional designs. But you should know as a designer that this is absolutely terrible from a usability point of view, because again, the client will have a very difficult time in finding photos that fit, in getting enough contrast for the content, for the sub headlines, and it's gonna be a pain again to code. It's not a good look. Okay, lyrics page. Yeah, I would have loved to have a layered PSD. I think this is again really risky what you did right here with the photo. I think, yeah, again, you're on thin ice here. But you know, if we're talking about winning contests, you know, this type of design is surely gonna win some contests, right? This is a 4-star design, maybe a 5-star design. It has that wow factor. So again, from a real down-to-earth perspective, if this was a one-on-one client, you know, this would be terrible. But to win a design competition, it's a bit of a gray area, you know. This type of thing actually works. This type of thing actually creates winners. But on the other hand, you gotta realize, you gotta be totally frank with yourself. You gotta be honest. This isn't usable, right? If the client has the best intentions and he gives this PSD to his coder, the coder is really gonna cut you off, and just only a handful of things are going to be actually used from your entire design. Maybe the font, maybe, you know, a bit from the layout, this part right here, and that's about it. The rest isn't usable. Let's see what else. Okay, so wow, you actually have a different type of menu depending on the photo. Again, from a developer standpoint, I'm not a developer, an experienced developer, let's put it like that. I do dabble in CSS and HTML. I do a bit of WordPress, but you know, this is difficult to wrap my hand around it. And again, the content is non-existent, right? Because this isn't enough. You know, what's the purpose of this area? Is this videos page? Okay, I totally get it, but what's gonna happen? You're gonna click here, and what's gonna be brought to a new page? Is this gonna be a pop-up, a modal box? What's gonna happen? Plus, you don't have enough content around it. This is just the title, no length, no duration, no whatever, the volume, description, whatever. So again, it's a beautiful presentation, but a lousy website design. And yeah, the same feeling goes for these other pages. This is probably the most usable bit out of it all. Yeah, I really like this page right here, but you should not use a fadeaway, because that's going to be difficult to implement. You should use a solid rectangle, and you know, it's going to look just about the same. But the developer in question is gonna love you for it. And I don't approve of this main menu that's gonna expand in this particular way. This is mainly for the mobile use. So yeah, that's about it. A big long video. Sorry about that, guys, but hopefully this has been insightful. If you wanna get your design reviewed, just email me at my name at yahoo.com. That's barinchristian@yahoo.com with a full stop. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'm out.